Ici. Good evening and welcome to the press conference following the Foreign Affairs Council and the Jumbo session, actually. The HRVP, Josep Borrell, will brief you on the outcome on the two meetings and will take your questions. HRVP, you have the floor.
Thank you. Today the Council adopted the strategic compass during a joint session of the Ministers of Defense and Foreign Affairs. Both formations together, they finally approved, after 2 years of work, the strategic compass, and I don't want to abuse of the word historic that we use a lot here in Brussels, but it's certainly a turning point for the European Union as a security provider, and very much important step for the European security and defense policy. I think that the adoption of this document sends a strong signal of unity and resolve, and it comes at a very, very, very important moment because we certainly need to increase our capacities on security and defense. Certainly it's not an answer to the Ukrainian war. We started working 2 years ago, but it's very timely. It's very timely that we approve this strategic compass in a moment in which I think every citizen in Europe can understand the purpose of a document who wants to increase and strengthen the European Union as a security provider. As I said, this is the result of 2 years of hard work, and I want to thank my team at the External Action Service and also all Ministers of Defense and Foreign Affairs that has been working on that for all this time, even this weekend, a lot of last-minute work in order to ensure that everybody was on board. You have heard me talking about the strategic compass quite many times during this long period of 2 years, and I want just to stress the fact that it's not an answer to the latest international development, in particular to the Russian military aggression in Ukraine. It's an answer to the feeling that the European Union has to be more engaged, coordinating the efforts of the member states in order to increase the capacity of all of us together, certainly in complementarity with NATO, in order to make Europe more stronger. When I presented the start of the compass, the draft that we presented to the member states in November, I said Europe is in danger. And this sentence, well, many believe that it was a matter of selling the product, to attract the attention of the people, to give a headline. Well, today I think everybody is convinced that Europe is in danger. That is blatantly obvious due to the invasion of Ukraine. It's not a rhetoric. By the contrary, this invasion and the war that is going on is a tectonic shift on the geopolitical landscape of Europe. And our reaction to the war has demonstrated that we, as the European Union, we can act firmly and united. And today the adoption of the compass confirms this capacity. The compass will help us to step up our ability to act more robustly and decisively in response to crisis, to secure our Union and our European citizens, increase our resilience, to invest in the required capabilities and in defense innovation, It's important to know how much Europeans are spending on their defense and to follow the evolution of the military expenditure since the beginning of the century, passing by the Crimea annexion in 2014 until this moment. These figures are important in order to understand where we are coming from, and why we should react. Today, the military expenditure in Europe of all member states, adding up, it's about 200,000 million euros, 1.5 of the GNP. It was decreasing until 2014, decreasing quite quickly, and since 2014 it has started decreasing again until 1.5. But we have to invest more, and I am sure that everybody will understand that if we want to push defense innovation and to be more able to face situations like the one we are facing today in Ukraine, we need capabilities. And with 1.5 of the GNP, it's not enough. We have to spend more, but we have to spend better. Better. Better means to avoid duplications and to avoid gaps. And we are working now, according with the mandate of the Council, on a study deeper these defense gaps. Where are the holes in which we don't have the means and ways to react? What we are missing? And what we are having 2 or 3 times in a duplication that is not effective. This 200,000 million euros is more or less 4 times the military expenditure of Russia. Altogether, we spend almost 4 times Russia, but certainly not with the same efficiency. 200,000 million euros is the same military expenditure of China. Altogether, we spend as much as China, but certainly it's not the same thing, 27 different parts, that one integrated military structure. We don't want to create an European army. It's not about creating a European army. The European armies will remain, each member state having its own military army. But we have to work together closer. We have to coordinate better our expenditure. We have to be able to react. And one of the ways to react rapidly is this rapid deployment capacity that has been agreed. I am very happy that finally this proposal has been agreed by the member states, which will allow us to mobilize 5,000 troops, train and equip to react to crisis. We will strengthen our control and command capabilities. We will conduct live exercises together. It has never been happening, never. European armies have been training together apart from the NATO framework. And we will better tools to fight hybrid attacks, hybrid campaigns, cyber threats, and foreign interference and manipulation of information. Because the battlefields of tomorrow are also on the networks, are on the cyberspace, are on the outer space, on the high sea. It's not only a matter of conquering land, it's conquering minds of the people. And the minds of the people at the end determines the behavior of their governments and the votes, for example, on the United Nations. So there is a big work to do, not with guns, but with words, with ideas, countering propaganda and disinformation, and present things the way they are. This will allow us to support our partners and to be a better partner. To support our partners, as we are doing now with Ukraine, and to be a better partner inside inside the NATO, with the United Nations, and with the African Union. We cannot act alone. We want to act in a more coordinated way among us, and we want to act in a more integrated way with our partners, acting in complementarity with NATO, which remains certainly the cornerstone of the territorial defense of Europe. But we, Europeans, with this document, we stated our strong will to be a stronger security provider for our citizens, for the stability of the world, and for the peace of the world. We will be more effective on facing crisis, securing acting, investing, and partnering. This is not a document to keep in the shelf. This is a guide to action with a concrete timeline. That's what we have to do and when we have to do. This has to be updated frequently. It has been updated in the last weeks in order to stress the importance of the Ukrainian war, not because we didn't discover before the Ukrainian war that Russia was one of the most important challenges that we are facing. We knew it. We knew it, and it was considered since the beginning in our threat analysis. But it was much more evident, and we have to adapt the text in order to reflect the current situation. But it will have to be updated often. Will have to be under the control of the leaders of the European Union Council, to which I will present the compass on the next meeting this week. And finally, let me say one thing. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. We are going to work a lot on that. It's time to translate all these purposes into concrete results. We need to study our defense gaps. We need to fill these defense gaps. We need to be effective, coordinated. We have to increase our resilience. And certainly, we will have to ask for a better commitment of the European citizens as taxpayers in order to make the European Union, as I said at the beginning, a better security provider. Otherwise, we will be in danger. We are in danger. And in order to face these dangers, we have to take conscience, full conscience of that, and act accordingly with that. I think that the Ukrainian war has been a kind of awakening for our conscience. For example, the energy dependency is something that we have been increasing our energy dependency from Russia for years. And now we take full conscience of the weaponization of dependencies. Dependency become a weapon. It is a weapon. It is being used as a weapon. And we have to react when someone uses something as a weapon against us. We are not a military union. We are not a military alliance. But we want to play a role in order to provide to the European citizens more security in a challenging and dangerous world. We are not living in the world we would like to be. We live in the world the way it is. And this world is dangerous. This world is challenging. Our neighborhood is in flames. From Gibraltar to Ukraine, we are surrounded by a circle of challenges, of dangerous situations. And we have to face them. And that's why we have been working with all member states to produce this analysis, this approach, of fulfilling the mandate of the Treaty of the Union, who clearly states that the Union has to build progressively a common security and defense policy, charging the High Representative to conduct this work. And it's my pleasure to present to you, after 2 years of work, what is certainly a big step forward to the building of this common and security policy for the European Union. Thank you. I forgot that we had a fact this morning. Certainly, we had a fact this morning, and in the fact this morning, we did a lot of things apart from the strategic compass. The strategic compass was on the way because my team was trying to arrange the last things that could allow us to have on board all member states. But before the Jumbo meeting with the defense ministers, we had another important meeting with the foreign affairs ministers. And as you can imagine, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia was the main issue in agenda. The ministers analyzed the situation and decided to continue and taking decisions. Today was not the moment to take concrete decisions, but to have a look at where we are, at what is going to happen, and what can we do on the next days. The conclusions are very clear. All member states remain extraordinarily united in supporting Ukraine diplomatically and international stage. We will continue isolating Russia, to call out for war crimes, for blatant violations of humanitarian and international law. We will continue supporting Ukraine economically, financially, with humanitarian assistance, and supporting Ukrainian armed forces. I am glad to announce that we have reached a political agreement for the additional 500 million under the European Peace Facility. And we consider that what's happening in Ukraine is a war crime, a massive war crime committed by the Russian armed forces against Ukrainian people. And this cannot go unanswered. And that's why we welcome the Commission of Inquiry set up by the United Nations Human Rights Council. We welcome the investigation by the International Criminal Court prosecutor. And we recall the order by this International Court of Justice for Russia to stop the invasion of Ukraine. Restrictive measures continue constituting an important part of our approach, and we are ready to take further according with our partners. We will continue engaging with international partners in order to continue putting pressure on Russia. At the end of the meeting, we were joined by the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Moldova, Nicu Popescu. Moldova, as you know, is one of the countries more affected and most threatened by the Russian aggression. They are responding with an incredible generosity and solidarity with their Ukrainian neighbors. 30% of the children in Moldova today are children from Ukraine, refugees from Ukraine. And their education system is under huge strain, but they are integrating them fully, allowing them to continue learning. They need our support. We will provide all the support they need in order to face this challenging situation. The ministers collectively committed to step up our support to Moldova. At that moment, there are 3.2, maybe at that hour of the day, maybe 3.3 million of refugees, and the flow continues. I am convinced that Putin is using the refugees as a tool, as an arm, sending as much as they can. They haven't destroyed the transport infrastructure. They just destroy the cities in order to terrify the civilians and make them escape. We are ready to help all of them. This is a symmetric burden because some member states in the border are having a stronger burden. They are facing this flow of refugees in the front line, but all member states will be in full solidarity to attend these people. Then we talk about Mali. The situation in Mali is not good. The attitude of the Malian authorities has pushed Barkhane and the special forces of the Takuba to leave. Et en même temps que Takuba et Barkhane sont partis du Mali, ou vont partir du Mali, nous restons très inquiets à propos de l'engagement de la société Wagner au Mali. Cette société est bien connue par ses exactions dans tous les théâtres où elle a sévi. Nous devons décider qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec nos missions d'entraînement militaire. Certainement, nos training missions ne peuvent pas se voir impliquées ni de près ni de loin dans des activités qui pourraient mettre en cause la réputation de l'Union européenne. Nous souhaitons rester engagés au Mali, mais pas à n'importe quel prix. Jusqu'à présent, notre présence a été, je ne dirais pas massive, mais très importante. Takuba, Barkhane, la mission européenne de formation et du conseil UTM Mali, la facilité européenne pour la paix. Nous avons travaillé avec l'armée malienne, nous l'avons équipée. Mais maintenant, nous demandons des garanties précises aux autorités de la transition afin que les unités qui sont formées et équipées par nous n'entrent pas en collaboration avec Wagner. On attend la réponse des autorités maliennes. Si cette réponse ne nous apporte pas des garanties demandées, nous n'aurons pas d'autre choix que de revoir en profondeur nos activités au Mali. Et on attendra la réponse des autorités militaires du Mali pour savoir quelle sera notre décision. Mais en attendant, nous continuerons à fournir de l'aide financière directe aux populations du Mali et du Sahel en général. Et les ministres ont souligné leur décision d'amplifier le soutien aux autres pays de la région, notamment le Burkina Faso et le Niger. Je pense que tout le monde est conscient de la complexité de cette entreprise qui requiert un investissement qui va au-delà du soutien aux structures de sécurité et de défense pour garantir le bien-être des populations qui sont terriblement stressées par les conséquences de la lutte contre le terrorisme et à la fois par les changements climatiques, par la sécheresse, et qui maintenant vont subir les conséquences de la montée du prix des denrées alimentaires et de l'énergie. Mais ça, c'est un problème pas seulement du Mali, pas seulement du Sahel. Ça sera malheureusement un problème qui va toucher beaucoup de pays en Afrique, beaucoup de pays dans notre voisinage. Les sociétés européennes, elles aussi, vont être touchées par la montée des prix, qui ne sont pas les conséquences des sanctions économiques contre la Russie. C'est la conséquence purement et simplement de la guerre. Et voilà.
Merci beaucoup.
Quelque chose?
Non, ça va, non, là, c'est bon. Natalia, you have the floor.
Just up here. I want to ask about the discussion on an energy import ban from Russia. Is there any frustration in Germany's resistance?
Yeah.
Is there any frustration?
No, repeat.
Does this work? Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay.
But please, because we couldn't hear you.
I'll repeat. I wanted to ask about the discussion about possible energy import ban on Russia. Is there any frustration on Germany's resistance to such an import ban? And with Biden's visit later this week, could the U.S. help alleviate any economic pain that such an import ban would have on European countries? Thank you.
Sí, I'm going to speak in Spanish because I already speak in English and French. Let's use Spanish also. Sí, entre las muchas cosas que se han considerado hoy sobre la situación en Ucrania, algunos Estados miembros han planteado las cuestiones relacionadas con la energía. Hoy no era un día para tomar decisiones y, por lo tanto, ninguna decisión ha sido tomada, pero esta y otras posibles medidas han sido objeto de análisis por parte de los ministros. Y no se trata de que un país o dos países o tres países estén a favor o en contra. Se trata de conseguir a la vez una respuesta eficaz que no signifique un coste inasumible para los Estados miembros. y como les digo, hoy no era un día para tomar decisiones, pero sí para analizar las posibles acciones que se pudieran tomar en el futuro. Y ciertamente la cuestión de la energía ha sido sacada a colación por varios Estados miembros y ha habido un interesante cambio de opiniones y de datos al respecto.
Thank you. Now I will go to the colleagues remotely, and I will give the floor to Christian.
Oui, bonsoir Monsieur Borrell, Christian Spillman de l'AFP. Je voudrais revenir sur la boussole stratégique et je voudrais que vous m'expliquiez en quoi ce projet ne va pas faire doublon avec l'OTAN. 21 membres de l'Union européenne sont membres de l'OTAN. 21 membres de l'Union européenne se sont engagés à consacrer 2% de leur PIB pour leurs dépenses militaires. Comment est-ce qu'on fait 2% de PIB des dépenses militaires de l'OTAN et 1,5% pour l'Union? Ça, j'arrive pas très bien à comprendre. Deuxième question, tout ce qu'il y a dans la boussole existe. Les groupements tactiques, tout est existant. Et vous l'avez souligné vous-même à plusieurs reprises, la seule chose qui manquait, c'était la volonté politique. En quoi est-ce que vous êtes certain que la volonté politique va y être cette fois-ci? Et ma troisième question, est-ce que vous n'êtes pas peiné d'entendre un État membre, le ministre d'un État membre, publiquement gourmander un grand État membre à qui il dit qu'il n'a pas rempli les engagements envers l'Ukraine pour les fournitures d'armes? Est-ce que c'est sérieux de la part de l'Union européenne, de la part de ses États membres, de s'engager à fournir des armes qui font cruellement besoin à l'Ukraine et de ne pas les livrer? Merci.
Non, je n'ai pas compris l'État membre.
La troisième question, on n'a pas très bien entendu, Christian. C'est un État membre qui quoi?
Oui, ce matin, à son arrivée, le ministre d'un État membre, un petit État membre, a déploré publiquement le fait que certains États membres plus grands ne tenaient absolument pas leurs promesses en ce qui concerne la délivrance des armements promis à l'Ukraine. Est-ce que vous pensez que c'est sérieux d'en arriver à des situations comme celle-là?
Je ne suis pas au courant de tout ce que les États membres disent quand ils arrivent à parler avec la presse à l'entrée du Conseil. Je ne peux pas commenter. Je ne sais pas quel État membre a dit quoi par rapport à qui. En tout cas, à l'intérieur du Conseil, cette question n'a pas été soulevée. Donc, je ne peux pas vous répondre sur quelque chose que je ne connais pas et qui, à l'intérieur du Conseil, n'a pas été soulevé à aucun moment. Je me fais responsable du débat dans le Conseil, pas de l'information qu'on vous fournisse dans les doorstep avant de commencer le Conseil. Écoutez, il faudrait que j'explique à nouveau toute la boussole. La boussole, c'est un outil complémentaire à l'OTAN. Oui, il y a des États membres qui sont membres de l'OTAN et d'autres qui ne le sont pas. Mais l'OTAN ne fournira pas une solution à tous les problèmes de sécurité et de défense pour les Européens. C'est un élément pour organiser la complémentarité à l'OTAN. Et on a dit ça dans les textes tellement de fois que ça m'ennuie même de le répéter. L'activité des États membres reste chacun pour soi, tous ensemble dans l'OTAN, l'outil fondamental pour la défense territoriale de l'Europe. Mais dans les traités de l'Union européenne, on dit qu'on a la volonté, et j'imagine que tous ceux qui ont souscrit les traités le savent, on a la volonté de créer des outils à l'échelle européenne pour renforcer la capacité européenne dans les domaines de la sécurité et défense. Et on dit qu'on va avancer progressivement vers une union qui puisse représenter un effort additionnel complémentaire à l'OTAN. Mais ça, il faut l'organiser. Il faut mettre des objectifs. Il faut dire qui va faire quoi. Comment va-t-on faire pour devenir plus fort? Et c'est ça que la boussole décrit. Évidemment, vous me direz, oui, mais avant, on avait déjà décidé d'autres choses qui n'ont pas marché. Bon, cette fois-ci, on a revu pourquoi elles n'ont pas marché et on a essayé d'offrir une alternative à la fois ambitieuse et réaliste. Je ne pense pas que dans le futur, on avait décidé d'avoir cette Rapid Deployment Force. On avait décidé autre chose. Cette chose n'a pas marché. On ne l'a pas utilisé. On a fait un effort pour mettre ensemble les volontés d'agir des États membres dans tous ces domaines que j'ai décrits. Agir, investir, faire des partenariats, offrir sécurité. Il y a une longue liste d'actions. Il y a plus d'une cinquantaine d'actions qui vont être développées. Ça ne se fera pas de la nuit au lendemain. Mais on va voir si on est capable de développer ce on s'est engagé à faire. Aucun document change la réalité. La réalité est changée par les actions. Mais les actions ont besoin d'un guide pour l'action. Et c'est ça la boussole, c'est un guide pour l'action. On va faire ça dans ces périodes de temps, avec ces ressources. On va développer des capacités, on va investir plus, on va développer nos partenariats. Je ne peux pas vous résumer en 5 minutes tout ce que la boussole dit, mais je vous en prie, donnez-nous le bénéfice de la doute. Vous allez voir.
Merci. You have the floor. No, you have to go to the...
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
And please present yourself and your media.
James Bays from Al Jazeera. High Representative, you say no concrete decisions today. You've got a very busy week of diplomacy ahead. Do you expect there to be further sanctions adopted this week, and could they be extended to the energy sector? And also, there are reports that Russia may want sanctions lifted as part of any peace deal. So are your EU sanctions permanent, or are they potentially negotiable?
Look, formal adoption of sanctions require a procedure, and I don't think during this week it will be a formal adoption of sanctions according with our procedures. But certainly the European Union Council, when we'll be discussing about the situation in Ukraine, the leaders, I'm sure, they will consider again what else can be done on the field of sanctions. In any case, the European Union Council provides political guidance. And this political guidance then is being converted in practical and concrete decisions, legally binding, by the technical bodies. So I don't think it's going to be a formal decision of a new package of sanctions, but certainly the European Union Council will provide guidance about how to develop the future. And I don't want to speculate about what is going to be or not on the negotiation for a ceasefire. But I want to insist on the absolute need of stopping this war. All the war reaches an end, and they reach an end through an agreement. And the first step for an agreement is a ceasefire. Keep in mind the sufferances of the people in Mariupol. Keep in mind the people who are being bombed, killed, people who are starving, escaping. The houses of the Europeans are full of images on their TV screens of what's happening in Ukraine. This has to stop. And on stopping this war, now we are using all our diplomatic efforts. We are supporting Ukraine. We are pushing for negotiations. We asked to Russia to stop this barbaric war. And once the ceasefire will be agreed, then certainly it will have to be negotiations about how to make the peace permanent. And sanctions, they are a way of putting pressure. And believe me, they are damaging a lot the Russian economy.
Laura, you have the floor.
Hola, buenas tardes. Laura Zornoza para la agencia EFE. Quería preguntarle al alto representante sobre si el ministro español les ha transmitido a los socios el cambio de posición del Gobierno respecto al Sáhara. Quería saber si la Unión Europea prevé alinearse con esta nueva posición que ha anunciado España, si cree que el plan que tiene Marruecos es una opción entre varias posibles y si cree que se alinea con las resoluciones de Naciones Unidas. Gracias.
Lo siento, pero Le voy a poder contar pocas cosas porque este tema no se ha tratado en el Consejo. Seguramente el ministro español habrá comentado por sus colegas informalmente, como lo ha hecho conmigo, pero no ha habido una información formal como un punto del orden del día. Lo que sí le puedo decir es que la posición de la Unión Europea sigue siendo la misma, es decir, pleno respeto y apoyo a las resoluciones de las Naciones Unidas y que cualquier solución al problema tiene que encontrarse en el marco de estas resoluciones, que, por cierto, también es lo que dice en la carta enviada por el Gobierno español a Marruecos. También dice claramente que la solución tiene que encontrarse por acuerdo entre las partes en el marco de las resoluciones de las Naciones Unidas. Expresa una preferencia por una solución, pero insiste en que la solución tiene que encontrarse en el marco de las resoluciones de las Naciones Unidas, que es exactamente lo que dice la Unión Europea y lo dijo bien claramente en el 2019 por última y concreta vez. La solución al problema del Sáhara tiene que venir del acuerdo entre las partes en el marco de la resolución de las Naciones Unidas. Esta es la posición europea y por lo que he leído de la carta enviada por España, no la contradice.
If you don't mind, I will take one last question remotely, and it will be Rosie.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, but you need to raise your voice because we can hardly hear you.
Okay. Rosie Burchard for Feature Story News. High Representative, could you give us some more details on Mali? You said you're asking for security guarantees from the transitional authorities. What are those? And can you flesh out, you mentioned support to Burkina Faso and Niger. What kind of support is that? I think it was relatively vague until now. What are the plans there? Thank you very much.
Sobre el Mali creo que he sido todo lo detallado que podía ser. Hemos mandado a las autoridades de Mali una solicitud para que clarifiquen las condiciones en las cuales podemos seguir allí desarrollando la misión de entrenamiento militar. Mientras esta respuesta no llegue, he encargado al jefe militar de la misión, que está allí sobre el terreno, que adapte el funcionamiento de la misión a las circunstancias a las que se enfrenta. Que mantengamos aquellas misiones de formación que no están directamente relacionadas con la formación al combate de las tropas del ejército de Mali y que esperemos a saber cuáles son las condiciones en las cuales podríamos o no continuarlo. En todo caso, la misión no se va a cancelar, porque eso requeriría la unanimidad de los Estados miembros. Podemos graduar la forma en la que la desarrollamos, podemos graduar la intensidad de nuestra acción, dejando de hacer ciertas actividades y desarrollando otras. Pero de momento estamos en una especie de stand-by, disminuyendo actividad y esperando la respuesta de las autoridades de Mali. Adicionalmente a eso, creo que lo he explicado, pero lo voy a repetir, con los recursos del presupuesto de la Unión Europea seguiremos prestando ayuda al pueblo de Mali y a los ciudadanos del Sahel en general, pero mantenemos congelada la ayuda directa al gobierno.
Thank you very much, and this closes our press conference today. You have still a Foreign Affairs Council.
But we still have another
Exactly.
council meeting.
Yes, with the defense ministers.
With the defense ministers to make the point on the military situation in Ukraine. From the military approach, where the war is, what's happening on the ground. Today, with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we have been discussing about sanctions, diplomacy, vote in the United Nations. Now we are going to study deeply how the war is going, and I think we are going to share important information about the military situation in the ground.
And they are waiting for you.
And they are waiting for you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.